Welcome, welcome, friends. Lovely to have you. As people are joining, I'm going to invite you to take a moment to give yourself the opportunity to close out anything else that maybe you don't have to have in your awareness right now. Maybe you don't have to multitask. Maybe you get to be fully present. But if you are walking or caring for children or a dog or other things, obviously take care of yourself. Yeah, or if you have 100+ tabs, you could just universal reboot your computer, whatever feels good to you. We're gonna give 2 more minutes for additional folks to come on in. And as we do that, you do not need to feel multitask shamed. If that's your way, please rejoice. But while we're here, if in the comments, would love to hear where you're calling in from. And so we can see your names. Amazing. Pakistan, rural Virginia, Boston area, South Florida. We're spanning all the climate zones. LA area, amazing. San Diego, hello, hello. Amazing. Amazing, Mexico City. All right, awesome. I feel like we have a quorum. It's always an energetic thing. It's not like a numbers thing. So I'm gonna fade out our music. I'm gonna pause this. And if you've ever spent any time live with me, you'll know that I love to do arrivals because all of us were doing something before now that wasn't this. And when we take a moment to call our full selves here, we actually have much more enjoyable, more beautiful, more meaningful time. So if you would like, I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if it feels good, take a moment to close your eyes. Get into a comfortable position, because when we sit and arrange our bodies comfortably, that actually invites more awareness in. When we listen to what the body wants, whether that's maybe you're opening your shoulders or uncrossing your legs, you're sitting taller, or maybe even lying down. Whatever it is, find that nice arrangement of your bones and your muscles, and then let your breath fill you. Give yourself the grace of several deep, slow, delicious breaths. And as we each stay in this inward focus of tuning our own beings, I invite you to use your wise sensing to ask, how do you wish to show up today, not just as witnesses of this electric communion, but participants in electric communion? Perhaps it's tuning yourself to be a little more curious or a little more present. Whatever it is, just notice. And when you feel ready, I invite you to open your eyes and look at something in your environment, to not actually come back to the screen right away. And to gaze on something that helps mirror back that intention that you just tapped into. And then, only then, I invite you to come back to the collective and here to this room and to this gathering. And should you so like, I invite you to share how you're tuning yourself, or what, if anything, your wise sensing said for you as you're coming into this space of electric communion in chat. If there's anything that wishes to be shared, because of course you are sovereign beings and you get to choose whether or not you want to share. Jessie says, just to be present. Lovely. Just being present is such a gift. Yang says, we are all energy and interconnected. Amazing. Olivia, to settle into curiosity. Mac, to allow this time to be easy and connected. Also, if you see a delicious intention shared, you can weave that into your own intention basket. Faizan, shed weight and be carried by the cosmic winds. Ah, gorgeous, gorgeous. All right. Well, I'm going to invite any additional things. Mar says, I come with my curious mind, open heart, ready to learn, and if there's space to share my own questions on these topics. So beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is delicious to be with you, and it's our intention that may we all leave this experience today feeling more energized, more present, maybe even more inspired than when we showed up. May today be a type of communal nourishment rather than the habituated ways we come into digital space as consumers, as watchers. Though Halim and I may be speaking most of the time, how can we actually intend a field of collective intelligence today? That's part of our guiding curiosity. So with that, I turn to my beloved friend, Halim Madi. Thank you so much for joining me today and for actually initiating this experiment. So how did this spark come into being, and who are you? And then I'll introduce myself, and then we will start weaving the inevitable jazz that we're about to play together.
Let's. Hi, everyone. I didn't share mine in chat, but it's pure excitement right now. I'm really happy this is happening. I'll start from the start. Larissa and I met almost 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. We um, we were part of a company called, interestingly, Invisible. And the person who connected us was the co-founder of that company at the time. The company is still around. We left early on, but our bond continued and deepened. And we've had so many. There's been a roller coaster of connection across the spectrum of emotions in so many different situations. But whenever we've been in chats, Larissa and I, just been so fun. And I'm hoping that the small perform this intimate beauty that we have could be an interesting performance for people, even though I'm not coming into this in a performative way, maybe a tiny bit.
Honest, honest, hilarious.
Let's give them a show, bro, sister. Um, Personally, so I'm an artist. What I do, I call computational poetry. I mix programming, code, and poetry, and this takes a few forms. One is creating poems that can only be web pages or websites, as in code is part of the metaphor. The website itself changes. You can only unlock the poem if there are several people on the website. The words change color, move, etc. All of that is part of the metaphor and the poem itself. It can't just be printed on a page. Um, I the second shape this takes is performances where the scenography itself are websites that I've created. And so the website and the performance itself changes as the audience decides. And the third one, which I guess is probably going to come up in this conversation, is um, there happens to be a new intelligence on the block. And how can this new intelligence strike a chord in our souls? Can we create non-human poets, ones that can make us cry, can move us? Can we really um, trigger and titillate our mirror neurons with thanks to something that is not human flesh? Yeah.
Mm, amazing. And one thing that my wonderful friend did not just mention is that he is the product lead at Mistral in Europe, which is Europe's largest AI company.
Yeah.
So, so you're a unique being in that you deeply swim in the waters of art and language and beauty, and you deeply swim in the waters of technology and code. So, two very different forms of language, two
Mhm.
very different forms that oftentimes people who, um, that's like a rare combination. It's
Mm.
almost like a weird combination for some people to be like, oh, you're like an artist and a poet, and you're also like a product designer with AI. Like that's just like doesn't happen that much, which is part of why I love you.
Maybe.
Because together, which by the way, Halim is Lebanese. What does Habibi mean? Because we'll be calling each other that a
Yes.
lot through this conversation.
Uh, Habibi is especially it becomes tricky whenever a Lebanese person enters a relationship with like a partner because the partner will hear oh Habibi and then they'll see that they're calling the clerk the person at the barber shop is like oh Habibi and then they're calling their mother Habibi and they're like suddenly the lover is like what is happening here? Am I anywhere on your scale of importance? And so means darling. And um, it is meant to be this, large and generous offering. It's meant to be for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's so I did not intentionally weave that in, but it's perfect in the frame of communion,
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that it's like what do we include in the circle of darling,
Mm.
and whom do we exclude from that?
Yes.
So I'm just going to drop that seed there and I'm going to share my intro. Thank you so much, Habibi. I'm Larissa Conte. I'm the founder of an organization called Wayfinding and the creator of a body of work called Power Literacy, which is a unique multidimensional thing. In one way, it's a leadership approach. In another way, it's a spiritual practice and an inner martial art and a paradigm shifting cultural recoding of how we conceive of power itself and our relationship not just to power, but to our own powers. And so um, I work as a leadership initiation guide, and I, like my beloved friend, have many, many facets of self. And so as we come into this conversation, I have so many threads of question bubbling, which in a space that is full of love, that's often true for me. It's like my heart is just like, oh, there's so much here. And so rather than tuning into my mind or a plan, I'm tuning into my heart because that is what is most alive. Because if we're seeking communion, which I am always seeking, that's why it's fun being alive, to commune, to connect. We love it. So, what my heart wants to ask first is, because Halim and I have actually a lot of connection over the heart as an organ.
Mm, mm, yeah.
Um, we have both experienced heart illness, like physical heart illness, and have ancestral patterns of heart illness. And so from there, I'll say, what is the role of your heart? Not just as a poet, but also as you tend the emergence and the creation of this new form of intelligence.
Mm, mm. Um, I I want to, yeah, I'm diving from this question from something you said earlier that still stuck with me. I never heard you actually say powers versus power.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
it just struck me how it's like a power move to put things in the plural rather than singular. When it's like,
Mhm.
oh, we're used to intelligence, and then you say intelligences, and we're like, wait, what? Plural? And we're used to hearts and hearts, as in, whoa, is there a world? And so when you ask the question, I was like, hearts, what about hearts? Just like inner parts and the internal family systems that we folks bring up and work with. And so the idea of hearts comes to mind, as in um, we've used the word relationship, and I think in the communication around this conversation, we've talked about relationship to this new intelligence or intelligences. And
Mhm.
um, yeah, what really comes up to mind is this idea that there is, can we really look at this as love, um, as in, or even longing? So when this whole thing came to the scene, it took a while to realize, but um, it almost felt like we've been waiting for this for a very long time. The reason why this technology has been adopted so fast, faster than any other in the history of our species, partly because of how interconnected we are in our technology, might be because we were longing for it for such a long time. Like we have so many myths that point to it. The Golem, Frankenstein, Galathea. Across our history and our mythology, we've been trying to create something similar, a companion of sorts, out of nothing, a companion out of nothing, right?
Mhm.
And we've been looking for aliens for the longest time, and suddenly, another intelligences other than our own, and suddenly here it is. Here's the sibling we never had, for the child who never had siblings, like, oh, I only want a brother or a sister. I just want someone. And this felt like our species sibling, someone other than the amazing chimpanzees and the monkeys and the other species that we do connect to in some way, but we want someone to have this other kind of joy, intellectual joy with. And here it is. Um, yeah, I want to take us there actually, this idea of longing, how much there's been almost uh, and longing to me always goes hand in hand with grief, that we've been waiting for this sibling to be born, to appear, to make itself known for such a long time. Hence why we're just jumping into this, almost like yeah, with abandon, right? Just like, hold me in your arms. I want to dance that dance. Yeah. Um, mm.
Mm. May I?
Yeah, yeah.
So much sparks as you share that, because the longing for connection,
Mm,
because So part of how, for context for people and why I have any grounds of like experience as well as just as opinion, um, is I have been exploring the waters of AI this year through an offering that my husband and I have put forward called AI Summer Camp, where we explore the nature of intelligence and power together. And in that, in the like longing for connection, I see part of that is so born out of like a wounding and an illusion
Mm,
that all of the rest of the family and the living life web that we're surrounded by isn't intelligent.
mm,
This like forgetting that
mm,
there is an ensouled, miraculous, always occurring conversation in
mm,
every living thing. If only we remember how to listen. And so, and I know this also from my, I'm just going to lower this shade as the sun starts to come out. I know this from my master's degree, investigating the origin of the belief in Western civilization that humans are separate from nature. Not all of the human family forgot that we belong. Like we already belong to all, to the whole thing. We actually, the only way we can cut ourselves out of the fabric is to convince ourselves that we're separate.
mm,
And
mhm,
so the potency of that illusion can like has created so many impulses and so many efforts in many ways. And I don't believe it just comes from shadow, this creation. You know, it just comes from a wound. But I certainly think in part it comes from
mm,
the forgetting that, oh, we actually just need to slow down and get curious of
mm.
what is it like to relate to an intelligence, you know, as I put like my finger up pointing to this wolf behind me.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, what is it like to relate to an intelligence that has a body but doesn't use words in the way that we do?
Yeah.
And then what is it like to relate to an intelligence that doesn't have a body and
Mm,
doesn't use words, like your the ancestral spirits of your grandmothers and grandfathers?
yeah.
And then as we come into relationship with AI, and this is from direct experience for myself and the types of questions we've asked our community in AI summer camp is now what is it like to be in relationship with an intelligence that doesn't have a body and uses a torrential amount of words?
Yes. As the new models come out, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh man, so much. Okay. Um, I just like three words I want to make sure. Okay. Memory, complicity, and complicity, and I think leverage. Yeah, cool. Okay. All right. What comes to mind is I think in the history of our intellectual evolution rather than our bodily evolutions, we've had a few meteors, large meteors that have hit us. Things like the one of the earlier ones is when we realized, oh gosh, wait, the Earth is not the center of the universe. Oh
Mm.
wait, not the sun isn't the center of the universe. Oh wait, our solar system is in this, etc., etc. And that Copernicus and Galileo were our first scientific, almost like the priests, the scientific priests of our first intellectual humbling. Then came Darwin and actually made us realize we're not the pinnacle of evolution from a biological point of view, and that was another humbling. Um, and post-humanists now, to your point, Larissa, that in our thinking like we're separate from nature and that we are somehow a different entity that exists, and post-humanists remind us that we're part of an ecosystem, that all things need to be thought of ecologically, cybernetically. It is a feedback loop. We are never alone, really. We are truly enmeshed. And I do think that what this new intelligence on the block helps us do is recontextualize what intelligence is, and rethink whether, oh, is this, how exclusive is this, right? Because when we lose exclusivity, we are dethroned again. We are unthroned. We are no longer, yeah, kings or queens or royalty. We're not intelligence. I'm sorry, you're not royalty. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a bit like I love this idea of, so the center of gravity in physics is this thing, okay, so this thing has a center of gravity. As long as I hold it this way, the center of gravity is somewhere here. The center of gravity is an abstract idea. The second I start tilting it, the reason why it's going to fall and you have an intuition it's going to fall is because the center of gravity actually moves to here, right? And so now it's going to fall. And that is the center of gravity is an abstraction. It's a bit like the self. Our self is an abstraction. It's a center of gravity, an equidistant point of several other things. And now intelligence as a concept is almost being snatched out of our bodies. And the reason why we feel like we're falling, like, wait, what is? I am not the only one able to write an essay in this room. And it's absolutely a tumbling of our intellectual edifice. And so, yeah, a framework. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is now inspiring me. Now I want to go into powers
Cool. Yeah.
because the tumbling, part
Mm.
of the tumbling and part of the humbling and the sorry you're not royalty. Oh my God, I want that on a t-shirt. I want that on a t-shirt is
Sorry.
in the disconnection from the life web, in the
Mm,
disconnection from the larger family,
mm,
we have had such a severing. We have had such a severing and a crowning, a literal crowning of the mind.
mm,
So much rhetoric, so much narrative that it is our minds that make us different than the whole rest of the living family.
mm,
It is our minds that make us special. And now we're in this moment, this identity crisis, this existential crisis of like, oh no, God, we're being outminded.
mhm.
So then what's left? And so there's like, so much of the fear projection occurring right now, I believe, is about that existential identity crisis. So when we're focusing on like, is AI going to become our overlord and are all these bad people going to run over the planet? Part
Mm,
of what we do, so a very quick orientation to how I understand power,
yeah.
which is radically different than like the popular way we talk about power. And it's to the point that it's unnerving to people, that it can like kind of cause a like, "Hmm?
Mm,
Like, wait, what? Um, Very quickly, going back to the 14th century in the English language, the etymology of the word power is associated with winning over a foe in battle.
wow, cool.
Hmm,
Mm,
is that what power is? Then, from a shamanic perspective, from Jose Luis Stevens, power is taking ever more responsibility for ourselves.
mm,
We are literally not even in the same universe with those two definitions.
mm,
What are we talking about? And so, the way I define power, and I'll put it in chat for all the verbal learners, I define it as the capacity. And if you've been in my world long enough, thanks for your patience with this part. But
wow.
repetition is helpful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Power is the capacity to move energy through systems. And power shows up as what I call shadow power and power that serves the whole.
Mm,
And so when we're talking about AI, when we're talking about literally any topic in the public forum, and we're unable to distinguish our power that serves the whole from our shadow power, then we comfortably sit in the realm of the mind and we think, oh, I'm being smart, rather than I'm using the power of my mind to justify material strata that my shadow sits in and is rooted in
mm,
to project out on something else like AI
mm,
rather than turn in and take responsibility for my conduct and my beliefs and my imprinting and my vibrational state.
mm,
So we justify our fear by saying, but,
mm,
rather than,
mm.
but who am I being?
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
am
yeah.
I being that way?
Yes. Yes.
It's so much more comfortable to look out and project bad and judgment and you're evil and if only we get rid of you. And
Mm,
by the way, the shadow's nature is adversarial. And so, like, to me, what sets this conversation apart from most conversations about AI is the lack of distinction about whether we're having the conversation from our shadow
mm,
or from our power that serves the whole.
mm, mm, mm,
Because it's like a type of toxicity then when we present ideas as like, oh, but I'm just being smart, or these are just ideas, or like ideas don't hurt. And it's like the mind can justify anything, beloved.
mm,
When we fall out of communion, when we fall out of the wisdom of the heart,
mm.
woof, we are in shaky ground.
Um, I'm jumping in. So
Please.
the
It's like double dutch. I
I'm
love this.
jumping in. So where I'm also realizing, like from a meta perspective in this conversation, how I'm holding a certain polarity as well. Like we're not, as much as we agree on not to so many of the same things, I do feel there's somewhere we're like, wait, Larissa. And when you say things like, um, we have we are still almost grieving that state of union with nature that we were in, that we no longer live in today. What
That
comes
many
to
of us no longer live in today.
that many of us don't like, yes, 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 is what comes to mind is like how we
Agreed.
overlay the narrative of falling out of the Garden of Eden, basically, to basically the existential threat that we're going through today. And it is, and with that narrative, and we're both familiar with it, so much comes. Like there's a species-wide guilt that comes up. Oh, it is our fault. There is an inner blame of like how misguided are we, and repentance, and we need to go back to this. And what I really appreciate about your approach and the fact that you've embraced AI the way you have is that um, there is a much more interesting ground here outside of the narrative of how misguided are we, and let's be the hyper accelerationists that are going to literally eat up this technology and basically cover the world with GPU so that we can go even faster. I think in this ground, there's so much, it is so fertile because the word unnerving, I love. The word unnerving reminds me of the word uncanny and weird. And
Mhm.
there's a book by Christopher Royal that's excellent called The Uncanny. And it's interesting because it makes a distinction. And I love these kind of lexiconic distinctions. Whenever you're distinguishing two concepts, there's so much insight comes up. So the uncanny is not the weird. The uncanny is not the strange. The uncanny is when we find something familiar in the unfamiliar, or something unfamiliar in the familiar. And I think that is what we're dealing with today. So I worked at Meta at Facebook for 4 years, and 2.5 of these years I built avatars for virtual reality environments. And for a while, we tried to make them as human-like as possible. And that was a recipe for disaster. The last thing you want is someone that looks like Larissa, but too much like Larissa, or not enough like Larissa, or their nose is a bit too perfect, or their eyes are a bit too perfect, and then you're like, ooh. And there's a sense of disgust that comes up inside. It's like, I don't, because our mind is trying to latch onto this as reality, and there's an unlatching, literally like a baby trying to latch, to their mother. There's an unlatching from something that is fundamental for our survival. And because of that sense of unlatching, we are deeply confused from an existential perspective. And so this uncanny thing is literally when we are almost glitching with reality. There's a literal
Mhm.
glitch. It's like something is not right, and our minds know it. And I think that's what we experience with AI whenever we go into that emotional territory. We're looking for a therapist, we're looking for a lover, and if we're discerning enough and have enough of that sense of what is what it is to be seen and to be witnessed, there is a glitching, there is an uncanniness to this relationship. And I think, to your point, Larissa, that that uncanniness is actually informative. It is more signal than just something to look at and say, oh, AI needs to be dismissed. Rather, the invitation might be, what if the whole thing is uncanny? What if uncanniness is actually
You
the,
mean reality?
yeah, exactly, exactly, literally, yeah. What if uncanniness is the literal default of all
Yeah.
of this? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Can we embrace uncanniness as like the operating system, as the modus operandi? Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, to sit in that like deep discomfort on the of like we're eternally unlatched, actually. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Uh, there's so much
There's a lot.
here, which
Here's
is why this is we're
chapters.
doing this. And it's so fun, and I'm laughing because this is a perfect demonstration. We're not just talking about electric communion, we are modeling electric communion. We are modeling the electricity of communion
Yeah, cool.
because power itself is electric.
Mm,
It is electrifying and it is also electrocuting. The power that serves the whole is electrifying. Shadow power is electrocuting, or, numbing is a whole territory that shadow power also in
wow.
conjures. But this much more interesting ground. So what you're speaking to, Habibi, of like either the rejectionists
Yeah.
or how do you want to call the other spectrum? Or the like
Not,
zealots?
yeah, not even embracing it, embrationists. It's more like the meld, the ones who can't wait basically to replace their bodies
But like
immediately.
proselytizers.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes.
It's like the all or nothing. And
Yeah.
this is it's this all or nothingness,
Mm,
like a signal, a pattern signal. So I'm going to share like a thing, and then I'd love to bring it down to like how do we actually both engage in this interesting ground so
yeah.
it gets like
Go,
in
go.
the body for people's bodies before we go to questions. But um the there's a pattern to watch out for. Whenever any topic,
Mm,
politics, AI, human rights, literally anything we talk about, when there are two perspectives doing this,
mm,
just fighting,
mm,
that's how we know we're listening to two shadows talk to each other.
mm, mhm,
Every wisdom tradition talks about this, is finding the middle way, finding the third way. And it's not just the third way, it's a third way, because there's like the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the 789th. And so when you're talking about finding this much more interesting ground, part of my experience and part of what I've seen people transform in is when they come in and their bodies are like, oh, I just kind of want to go throw up in the corner when I think about AI or about the people making AI or the companies making it. It's like there's a
yeah,
whole inner experience happening.
yeah.
Um, when that starts to soften and then the interesting ground is like, what if I take responsibility
Mm,
for sovereign conduct in
mm,
all my relationships
mm, mm,
rather than having a rule book about this is what AI is and this is how it's like the rule book destroys the mystery.
mm,
These two opposing things want to eradicate mystery, the unnervingness of the mystery. In one of my programs, in my Power Up program, literally, we did an embodied experience yesterday of just like, notice your reaction to the mystery. Actually,
mm.
can we do that for everyone right now? Oh my God, look, real play. Okay, if everyone's down for this, we're going to do a live experience together if you feel like it. I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes. And the reason we close our eyes is because when we eliminate the visual field, we're better at sensing. Now I invite you to tune into the mystery. And if that's too abstract for you, to tune into an area of your life where you don't know what's going to happen. or an area of reality where you don't know what's going to happen. And then notice how you feel in reaction to the mystery. And it might be helpful to look at several types of mystery in your life. Notice what stirs in you. And then when you feel ready, I invite you to come back to the group. And if any of you would be so kind, I'd love to hear what came up as you tuned into your reactions, your embodied reactions to the mystery. And then Habibi, as people are typing, how do you feel about going into Q&A from here?
Yes. Gosh, there's so much, my friend.
I
Okay,
know.
I want to say, like, I'll literally touch on something for
Great. Do you want to touch on something while people are
2 minutes. Okay, great.
Okay.
When you about power, so and about the
Actually,
point.
can I pause you and we'll read some of these
Yes,
because they're
please
really good. Okay.
go for it. Yeah.
This is also relationships. Oh my
Like,
God.
oh my
Okay.
God.
Faizan, exploration, anger, which converts into action, creating a mental sandbox. The list goes on. Mar, it excites me to lean in and encounter the unfolding. Unyang, death, I am excited and curious. There is a predictable array of responses to the mystery, and we can actually expand our capacity to be with the mystery. We can expand our capacity to stay in our sovereignty and our true recognition of mystery rather than like denying, avoiding, distracting, rejecting. It's like I can be fully in me, in my full sensation, rather than running mental story to be with all that the mystery brings up. Okay, Habibi.
This is so good. Thank you everyone for typing your answers. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on power. So as in one of the shapes my art takes is performances and installations. And the one I've presented and the one I continue to present as part of a Mozilla AI art residency and an Ethereum art residency is a duel with a machine. So I fine-tuned a model on some of the best French and English poetry. And I sit down in a gallery, usually in a gallery that was in Paris about a couple of months ago, and I write a poem for 30 minutes on a theme: love, friendship, longing, childhood, the city, etc. And I ask the model to generate a poem on the same theme. When I finish, I print both poems, my poem and then the machine's poem, and we put them on the wall. And then the audience folks basically just vote on their favorite, actually. They don't know who wrote what. They don't know what is AI generated and what is human. And it is never revealed, and it won't ever be revealed which one is which. The point being that the winning poem at the end of the day, trains again, the quotes, the loser. In other terms, if I wrote the poem that won, it is fed back into the data set, and the model improves based on that. If the machine wrote the winning poem, I read the poem and improve my own poetry. And the idea here is that rivalry, right, as in to defeat the foe, is now turned into a mechanism. And this is actually how machines are trained, through reinforcement learning using human feedback. That's the company that Larissa and I worked in, and that is now a leader in human data annotation around the world. That this reinforcement is now serving something larger. It is serving poetry itself. The machine and I are not winning. It's poetry that is winning. It is something third. It's the third. It is a way, a middle way, a different way, a different path. And I think that is important to, like, the point of that performance and that installation is to literally trouble how we look at that antagonism and that confrontation between machine and human, and actually make it serve something else. Yeah, that's it.
Let's all take a breath. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Habibi.
Maybe.
Per usual, I am enlivened, inspired. I have the echo of laughter through my bones. Oh, so funny. You're so funny.
Maybe.
Not to mention smart and well spoken and fun and embodied and all the things. So now that has been a feast. That's our feast offering. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for weaving with us along the way. What questions arise? And we'll see what questions bubble. And rather than like answering one directly, we may find that there's interconnective tissue between multiple questions and then see what comes forth from there. And just reminding us that we're going to keep 5 minutes at the end for a closing, because just like we open, we make space to close. That's how we digest. Hmm. Question.
I'm reading Mars' question.
Hmm.
Um, I wonder, can I read it out loud?
Please do.
I wonder if instead of antagonizing the two poems, the AI could help the audience understand the elements of the poem and why they are perceived as better or more robust or powerful than the other. Yeah, I love that. It's I, what I'm hearing in the question is, what if this could be an inquiry into taste and aesthetics? As in, what is it that makes something beautiful versus something else? Why is it that there's a cardinality of things? Um, yeah, and I do think it's that is why it muddies the water, and I'm very resistant to ever saying who wrote what, whether it's the AI or the human. That at
That
the
is
end
a
of the day,
brilliant aspect of the authoring.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah, but very, very well done. Very well
Thank
done.
you.
Who
Yes.
came up with that? Don't
Yeah,
even
it's
reveal that
hey.
aspect. But it's
It's
like it right there that it it literally interrupts the fixation to know.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like, no, I'm offering you mystery to sit with.
And to and to Mars' point, that it becomes an exploration of one's own taste. That the invitation is really dive into your aesthetics. At the end of the day, so the eternal confusion of like, why am I looking at a Rothko? What is even contemporary art? Why are there two blotches of paint on a wall? Is an invitation to hone a certain aesthetic sense. And the
Mm,
aesthetics is literally what Larissa talked about. It is the conversation. Aesthetics is the ongoing conversation with reality. Our relationship to reality is aesthetic. It is through our senses. Our intelligence is an aesthetic. It is literally how our mind is speaking and gnawing and eating and mawing on the different threads and tentacles of this universe. Yeah.
And so important that we constantly tend our skills of embodiment so that we are
Mm,
finely tuned to knowing the signals of what is delicious and alluring to
yes.
us rather than receiving the programmatic coding of
Yeah.
other people's aesthetics.
Yes. Yes.
Rather
Yes.
than say, oh, because this person or this culture or this forum or this community views that as beautiful or that as true or that as good, so do I. That is where we give up our sovereignty.
Yeah.
And it's
Beautiful.
like, no, my love, what do you find delicious? And do you have the courage
Mm,
to stand in owning that,
mhm,
even if that could result in ridicule
mm.
or, and then it can go much further from there.
Yes. Or being called a snob, which I'm constantly. As in, like, how French of you, the folks in this, how French of you to actually have such a strong opinion about this painting being bad. I'm like, Yes, it's bad. I'm here. I'm in the apartment of a friend staying here, and the walls are orange. I'm like, that is not okay. No, it's not okay. And just like having a strong opinion about things is absolutely the shadow is to call it snobbery when actually it is, sure, it is a word we can use, but it's also opinion to be opinionated and to be passionate about one's taste.
Amazing. I'm seeing this question from Unyong about what about AI in the hands of shadow powers and what are guidelines for us as users?
Mm,
My main like distilled response to that is because we have the most sovereignty, most agency, the biggest leverage for intervention with our own conduct, which, like, here's another linguistic thing. Because power is electric, we conduct it. What we conduct is our conduct.
mm,
How we conduct power is our conduct. And so we have the greatest design and decision making over our own conduct, which means it is best to know ourselves very deeply. It is best to know the shadows we harbor within and those we enact outside in life. That's the biggest leverage we have. And then to increase our own power literacy so that when we can regard others' shadows, we do not then ourselves fall out of center into a shadow reaction to someone else's shadow or into a shadow reaction to AI. Because in every relationship, whether it's with AI, whether it's with a family member or a coworker or a beloved, it's this is why power literacy is actually a dance because it's a moment to moment to moment choosing. That's my that's my reply there.
yeah, I love that. Um, I have learned to develop empathy for so many of these tech teams that are building this technology. Having worked at Meta for 4 years, at Stripe for four, and now being part of Mistral, this work is very hard, and foresight is uh, almost impossible sometimes. It's not as if these folks are ill-intentioned. Um, when I worked at Facebook, my team goaled on time spent within the feed, as in my team's goal was to increase time spent on the social feeds, which now we know in retrospect is a crime, basically. Um, and it's taken, and there is still on my side the conviction that we have hurt an entire generation in the process. Um, and Jesse and I were part of a course actually about Marshall McLuhan, who writes a lot about technology and its impact on us and how technology is an extension and an amputation, that every technology is amputating something within us, and something was lost due to social media. My hope is that we've learned now schools are now banning, phones, and we have limits on how much time is spent on social media. My hope is that we've learned from that last cycle for this next one, and that we do better and faster. Um, I'm speaking to students and to teachers out there, and there is a real concern about cheating and this replacing actual capacity and creative potential. Um, and I do think there are mechanisms, one from a personal point of view, like Larissa mentioned, like how we conduct ourselves in this relationship. And there are systemic, um, system level interventions that can and need to happen. If one types something like, hey, how would you connect the dots between X and Y? There's a case for the conversational chatbot itself telling you, are you giving away your creative potential or something along these lines? Reconsider before asking this question. Try to connect the dots yourself. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah, there's work to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go back to
which is
work.
always which is always true. And I think if there's like one footnote I would add to that, um, I would just say, and may we take heart.
Mm, mm,
May we take heart with the work to be done.
mhm,
Because if we move from our hearts into the work, through the work, then our hearts actually make it more fun for us,
mm,
make it more embodied, and actually have the possibility of making it less daunting, not from, being delusional,
mm.
but actually from being open to the vastness of our creatorship. So, looking at time, I invite my beloved friend. How do you have any things that you would like to share in chat as like links for your work? Or actually, I can go first if you want, like, have a little link list or something to share or invitations for people.
Yes, and I'd love you to send us off. Like, let's leave some
We
time
are
for.
definitely going to do,
Okay,
don't worry, you and I are going to do this in like
okay,
30 seconds. We'll have a wrap and it'll be
awesome. You can find everything I am doing and or etc. on this link. These are the things that are upcoming and links to my work. This is my website, what I'm up to. Yeah, and there's a newsletter, there's a Substack, a writing where I share, some of these ideas that you heard today. Yeah, that,
amazing. And here are mine. If you want to join my newsletter, if you want to know what your own powers are in a biometrics readout, you can take the power assessment.
it's
If
really
you want
awesome.
to have a more relational relationship with AI, you can join AI Summer Camp, where we can connect and stay in the conversation. So, for our wrapping, I am so grateful for everyone being here in the field today, for amazing questions, for amazing presence, for amazing participation. And I invite each of us again to just close our eyes to tune in and notice the quality of aliveness that you feel now compared to when you arrived at the beginning. What, if anything, is different for you? What is one curiosity that you're taking from here? And what is one inspiration about how you wish to move through the rest of today to be more delicious? Thank you for being at Electric Communion. Thank you for being in Electric Communion.
I want to say thank you, Larissa, uh, for being my friend, for being such an amazing facilitator and space holder. Thank you for this incredible work that you do. And
Mhm.
I'm so lucky to be in conversation with you. Yeah.
Likewise, Habibi. Thank you. Thank you for being a beloved in my life. Thank you for journeying through the seasons. Thank you for walking with the multidimensionality of your being into the halls of stewarding the creation of new intelligences. Thank goodness you are where you are on behalf of all of us. Thank you
Thank
so much. Thank you all so
you.
much for being here. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, everyone.